Okay, great. Okay. Still, there are students coming in. May I ask, Azmina, are you here? Nick Nur Azmina? I thought that you have already in my session. Nick Nur Azmina. Nick Nur Azmina, are you in my session already? No, yes?
Azmina kata dia tak boleh guna apps ni, dia tengah cuba lagi.
Okay. Dia boleh, dia ada phone tak? Dia pakai phone ke pakai laptop?
Lepas sekejap saya tengok.
Okay, kalau if let's say dia tak boleh pakai either one lah. If let's say cannot access through laptop, then access through mobile phone. Mobile phone will be easier. Because shouldn't have any problem with this. Okay, so I have already recorded this session. Perhaps over the press. Anything, Nushila?
Sorry.
Okay, right. So let's take a look on the slide that I have shared. Okay, so can you see that it's moving? It's on the learning outcomes. Yes or no? Is it moving?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Okay, great. Okay, so for the introduction of your Islamic financial system today, we're going to study on what is Islamic finance, okay? The fundamental that governs our Islamic financial system. What are the value propositions, meaning that the value that is embedded under our Islamic financial system? What are the functions, the types of Islamic financial markets that we have currently, Islamic financial intermediaries, okay, and what are the requisites, meaning that the requirement of the Islamic financial system. All right, first of all, why do you study Islamic finance system is actually we need to know that this is actually a combination between two aspects, okay? The first aspect here that we are looking at is the finance aspect. So when we talk about finance, finance actually covers all about management, okay, the creation and study of money, all right, banking, credit, investments, assets, and liabilities, anything that can compose financial system. So in a what do you call this, in a conclusion, when we talk about finance, it is all about the management, the creations, anything to do or dealings with money, with banking, okay, credit, investment, and anything to do with assets and liabilities. All right, so that is actually the financial system itself. So this is similar to the one that you have already learned in your financial market in conventional. So for those who have taken corporate finance, who have taken what do you call this, financial markets, this is the same, or I can say similar to the one that you have already learned. So that is about finance. What sort of instruments that you use to finance your business, what are the sources, what are the platform, what are the, what do you call this, techniques or approach that you can your business. So those are the thing about finance, okay? But when we talk about Islamic, okay, Islamic is all about the religion. So it's related to the Islamic Islam religion. So when we talk about Islam religion, we know that whatever Islam covers in what do you call this, an individual is everything, meaning that it covers the person itself as an individual, and also it covers a man, I can say man, okay, not only in the world, but also hereafter. So that also will goes up to the relationship between a human being to Allah, to the God, okay, human being with human being, human being with society, human being with other things. All right, it covers everything. It covers everything in Islamic teaching. All right. So when we talk about Islam, also we know that our source, okay, our source, whatever that are or references, okay, we refer back to the Quran and the Sunnah. Alright, so here when you combine your Islamic finance, the finance concept and the Islamic concept, there you go, you will get your Islamic finance, whereby whatever it is you do in financing or financial market, it has to be based on Islamic perspective. So if let's say you wanted to do a banking has to be on the perspective of Islamic, not conventional. So how do you get the source? Is from the Quran and the Sunnah. So this is how this is why you study the Islamic finance, to make sure that you understand what is the underlying principles. Okay, what is the fundamental principles that governs your Islamic finance? So basically, you know, it's the religion itself. Okay, right. So when we talk about Sharia, okay, Sharia is actually the Islamic law. Okay, the Islamic law. So basically, as I mentioned just now, Islam as a religion that covers the way of life. As I mentioned to you, individual to God, individual to individual, individual to the society, individual to the environment, individual to the business and economy and everything. So how does this individual act in their world or hereafter is all governed under the Islam religion. So basically you can see here Islam is the carrier of a teaching. So it teaches in terms of entirely directed towards the collective and social dimension. I have mentioned to you just now. Okay, what is our relationship to the God, relationship to the man, to the human being, relationship to the society and environment as a collective or the social dimension. And then, okay, this is also, okay, to the extent that there is no real practices of religion without personal involvement and investment in the community. Yes, this is what it tries to say here is that whatever that we do, there will be, we will do it, whatever we do, our action will reflect to everything. If let's say we cook, the smell of the dish that we cook will be shared and smelled by other people. See, that is what the metaphor that I can share with you in terms of our action. So whatever that we do, whatever that we react, that also will reflect to the people or the environment, what do you call this, our surroundings. That is the meaning of what do you call this, point number 3 here. Okay. There is without personal involvement. Even if let's say whatever that you feel, that also will affect your surroundings, right? If you got anger, if you're sad, everything. So same goes to the business as well. Whatever that you invest in a certain companies, that will the money that you have, maybe you are the household, okay, the person who search for the income, right? So if let's say you take some of your income and then you do the investment, that also will reflect your household condition or situations, and it will also affect the banks that you deposit in. So how is that? We will see after this. All right, and then the development of Islamic financial system is a clear manifestation of the Islamic worldview, which is represented by the Sharia or Islamic law. So as I mentioned to you, beside the term of Sharia, sometimes in the book they will mention about Islamic law. So this terminology, Sharia or Islamic law, will be used interchangeably, okay, in our course. For example, like Islamic finance, all right? So it will be used interchangeably. All right, the next one. What is Sharia exactly? So we have not really two perspectives, but two descriptions. Literally, it means the way, the path. Okay, jalannya. So that is the literally means of Sharia. But technically or precisely, or I can say in practical, okay, the description of Sharia is actually the way which lead to a source. Okay, the way which lead to a source. So when we talk about this is the path, okay, lead to a source, meaning that the source of Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. So one of the example here is our source of Al-Qurtubi, okay, that is general law of Islam, all the different commandments of Allah to humankind. So this is one of the example that has been shared in the book as well as in this slide. Right. So a Sharia is an Islamic law represent a body of Islamic teaching and a system from Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. So that's why it goes back to here, which is the way which lead to a source. So whenever that you apply to finance the laws, rules, interpretation of Sharia, it will take consideration issues of social justice, equity, fairness, and etc. So what does it mean here? So Sharia based on Al-Quran and Sunnah. That is one. The second one, whatever that is stated in the Al-Quran and Sunnah or the Islamic teaching, the objective of Islamic teaching is to ensure that all of us, all humankind, all human beings or well-beings in whatever what you call this in this world, okay, should receive justice, equity, fairness, transparency, accountability, integrity, honesty, so many things. All right, so that is actually our fundamental values that we have in the Islamic teaching, and that is actually embedded in your Sharia, in Sharia law. So that's why IFI means Islamic Financial Institution. Okay, this means Islamic Financial institutions. Right, so all IFIs or Islamic financial institutions must ensure that all their transactions are Sharia compliant. They have to comply with this Islamic law. If let's say they breach, okay, they exceeding the law of Sharia, meaning that they are not compliant with Sharia and they cannot be part of this Islamic Sharia, Islamic financial market or Islamic financial system. They need to go and to move to the conventional one. So for example, like a company, right? A company that sells, that's a real estate company. For example, YTL. In Malaysia, we have YTL. It's a property company. So YTL has a building, a large building like a shopping mall. So a shopping mall there, if let's say YTL wanted to have their real estate under the Islamic finance market, YTL companies has to ensure that the tenants, okay, because you have a shopping mall, you will have a separate tenants, right? Shops, okay, boutiques, restaurants, or maybe community, consumers product, groceries and everything. So those tenants, okay, the what do you call this? YTL has to make sure that if let's say the YTL wanted to have this building falls under Islamic REITs, okay, Islamic real estate under Islamic financial system, okay, YTL has to make sure none of the tenants sells anything to do with the prohibition things. Okay, for example, like selling pork, okay, selling alcohol, do entertainments in terms of gambling, anything to do with, all those activities that is prohibited under Sharia law. Okay, that is one. However, there will be a benchmark, okay, meaning that a threshold. This is only for your an example for you to understand, yeah, okay, how if let's say a company breach, then they cannot be part of the Islamic Sharia Islamic financial system. So if let's say in terms of the tenant, for example, 7-Eleven is part of the tenant of the building in YTL. So 7-Eleven sells, for example, beers, alcohol, liquor, right? and then 7-Eleven also sells cigarettes. So whereby this alcohol or liquor cigarettes is actually a prohibition product in Islam. All right. However, based on our maslahah, okay, this is what we call as the society and the community. All right. The capital market or the Securities Commission who regulates our Islamic capital market allows on a certain percentage. Okay, so this is actually that you will learn later, but I am just sharing with you this information so that you can have a broad idea how a building can be for, like YTL buildings can be under Islamic REITs. REITs means a real estate, okay, real estate industries for trading. So if let's say 7-Eleven meet the requirement, means that below on the percentage, okay, then they are allowed to become the tenant, and YTL is still within the Sharia law activities. So there is no problem on that. Okay, so that's why when we talk about Islamic financial market here, we have to consider for many things. Okay, it's not only for about one aspect, but we also need to consider about our maslahah, which is our public and our social community needs and wants. Because for example, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, we have various people with various religion and belief, right? So we cannot stop them. So this is what normally the Islamic jurisprudence will allow in terms of Islamic capital market. Okay, that is actually a brief explanation for you to understand in terms of the Sharia compliance and non-compliance. Non-compliance, if let's say it's above. Okay, if let's say the one of the tenant is like restaurants in the building, restaurant no permit, no what do you call this, Islamic permits, okay, like from JAKIM, for example, okay, there's no permit, and then they sell pork, they sell so many things, like the income 100% from all those prohibited activities, okay, especially like liquor and alcohol, okay. So that is actually, if let's say it's above the certain percentage, then the tenancy rental that paid to YTL also, you have to look at the percent. If let's say it's beyond, then it's breach, non-compliance. If let's say it's less from a certain percentage, then it's still comply with Sharia. So not to worry about that. So that is only an example, because some of the students will ask, so how do you determine a certain building is actually under Islamic Sharia perspective or under Islamic Sharia compliant? That is how they calculate, okay, in terms of what are the goods that you are selling and how much income that you get from the selling of the goods, okay, especially the non-Islamic goods or the prohibition goods, okay. Right, moving to the next one. Okay, this is a value proposition. So when we talk about value proposition, is the philosophical of Islamic financial system. What is the philosophy? Okay, if let's say conventional, everything is about profit. That is our philosophy. Profit, returns, profit, returns, profit, returns, and that's it. We don't care about human dealings. We don't care about human feelings. We don't care about other resources. We don't care about animals. We don't care about the planet as a whole. See, that is conventional, because they are searching for profit and self-interest. Whereby in Islam, we have a different value. Okay, in Islamic teaching, okay, we have a value in terms of Tawheed. You can see here, Tawheed, Rububiyah, Risalah, Akhirah, Tazkiyah, Kafalah, Adalah, and Falah. Alright, so these are actually a value by Tawheed. Okay, I would like to share with you here in from the book So it's good to have the book because the book will explain to you more about all these things. Okay, Tauhid is God's unity. And sovereign. Rububiyah is about divine arrangement. I don't know what's wrong with my pen. Okay, and then Risalah is your prophethood, and guidance. Oh my God. Akhirah is about belief in accountability. Accountability, judgment, and implication in the world, in the world and after, right? And then tazkiyah. Okay, tazkiyah, purification plus growth. Purification plus growth. Class, are you still with me? I feel like I'm alone here.
Yes,
Okay. Kafala. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay. When we talk about tazkiyah, you know that purification, you can relate this one to the importance of zakat. Okay, the importance of zakat. So when we receive our income, or if let's say we have increase or gain in our wealth, okay, kenaikan di dalam kekayaan, right? It's good to come up with the purifications of your wealth. That is one of it is zakat, right? Kafala is social solidarity. What do you? It's more about your role as a Khalifah or Khilafah, okay, social solidarity. Okay, Adalah is adil, okay, justice. And Falah is well-being. Well-being or success. Well-being or success in this world and hereafter. In this world and hereafter. All right. So these are the philosophy. No matter how it exists in anywhere else, not only individually, but also in our business practice. Okay, when we talk about arrangement, when we talk about prophethood and guidance, when we talk about the accountability of our, you know, when we do business dealing, we have to be honest, we have to be transparent, all those things. Okay, these are all directly embedded in our Islamic financial system. So these are the philosophies. Okay, when you this is very important. Okay, in a way, value proposition is very important in your Islamic financial system. Okay, so besides this philosophy is something which is you cannot deny. It's over there because our the source of Islamic financial system is the Quran and the Sunnah. All right. Besides this, we also have principles. Okay, the principles or the parameters of halal and haram, for example. So this is something that I have already mentioned about the, for example, like YTL building just now, whether the tenant sells halal or haram product in order for them to make sure whether it is acceptable under Islamic financial system or not. Okay, that is one example. Right, so This, when we talk about halal and haram, this is more on the morality filtering. Okay, the morality means that actions taken by every individual in the society and form a legal framework for Islamic finance. So normally, what governs our practice, we also have these principles in order to make sure that our business transactions and economy is follow the principles of halal and haram parameters. Okay, why we need this? Because as I mentioned earlier, is because the objective of Islamic finance is to achieve justice, fairness, trust, honesty, integrity, and balanced society. So that is actually the objective of our Islamic finance. We wanted to have, you know, a balanced society in terms of getting wealth. All right, we are trying to help each other here. We are not trying to oppress, meaning that menindas, okay, oppress another party in order for us to make a profit for something else. Okay, that is more on conventional. Conventional, they don't care. They impose high interest for loans. Okay, in fact, when we have our MCOs in Malaysia, the third MCO, no matter how, okay, they still, you know, the bank still applies a certain interest. If let's say you wanted your payment. So that is something which is we don't find that is to take care of themselves. Yes, so that's why it's like an options. Either you want to take it or not to take it. That is your decisions. All right. So and in Islam also, Islamic financial system, what we try to achieve is to have the principles of brotherhood and cooperation. This is another principle that we apply in our business activities and economy. Brotherhood, okay? The relationship between Muslims and Muslims normally. Okay, in fact, we also have the relationship between Muslim and non-Muslim. Whatever it is, we still accept that as a brotherhood. So that is the principles that we have in Islamic financial system. And together with the brotherhood, we have the cooperation, meaning that kerjasama, right? So one of the examples that we can have here, the brotherhood and cooperation, is in the form of takaful. Okay, takaful is more on brotherhood and cooperation, whereby you have a pool of money that you keep in takaful operator, you pay premium, and then they will keep for you whenever that any of the, what do you call this, participants having a problem, or maybe what do you call this, experience any emergency needs like accidents, okay, they will pay to the victims, or they will pay to the participants, okay, on a certain amount. So that is the cooperation. Takaful is one example. The second one, we have musyarakah, whereby partnership, and mudarabah, partnership. The sharing of profit and loss, for example, that is called mudarabah, sharing of profit, for example. And then we have more, okay, and that is only the contract or products that I can, not products, contracts that I can share with you that has, okay, the principles of brotherhood and cooperation, especially takaful and musyarakah and mudarabah, these three. Okay, and then we also have the principles of khilafah, the one that I've mentioned just now, okay, khilafah in Islam. Always remember that we don't own the resources in the world. Okay, whatever that we have in the form of money, or maybe in kinds like things, a house, maybe land or building, or anything, gold, silver, that is actually not ours. Okay, technically, okay, yes, in terms of on papers, okay, one thing that you have to do not confuse here, Islam encourage to make wealth, okay, they encourage us to search for wealth, but at the same time, the wealth is not ours all, okay. we have to share the wealth that we got with other people as well. So that's why
Madam, you're stuck. Madam.
yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Now, yes.
Can you hear me? Class,
Yes.
can you hear
Yes,
me? Okay,
Yes,
okay. I
yes,
got
yes.
problem with my, yes, yes. I know. I got problem with my connection. Don't worry. I realized that. Don't worry. Okay, so where were we? Where did you hear my voice? When did I stop? Which part? Is this the one? No, this one? The khilafah? Is it? Is it
Madam,
khilafah?
madam.
Yeah, yes.
Ada yang belum masuk. Dia tengah tunggu madam approve.
Hai. Okay. So just now, as I mentioned before, value proposition, besides these value propositions, we also have the principles. Okay, coming back to the principles here, principles, we have the first one, halal and haram principles. This is one. The second one is the brotherhood and cooperation principles. This is number two. Number three, the principles of khilafah. As I mentioned, I don't know whether you hear me or not, but khilafah is the role of you yourself as a khalifah in the world, whereby you need to know that we are not the absolute owner of the resources. Even though Islam encourage Muslims, okay, all of us to create wealth, but of course we are not the absolute. We are not the only one who own the resources. So make sure that if let's say we wanted to get resources, make sure we have a balance. We let others as well to share the wealth with us. All right. So these are the another three principles that embedded under Islamic financial system. Okay. As I mentioned, right, the functions of Islamic financial system here is quite similar to your conventional. All right. Why? Because we have individual, we have household, we have corporations, we have governments. Right. Okay. In our Islamic financial system, there will be the terminology of SFU and DFU. So what is SFU and DFU? These called surplus fund units. This is deficits fund units. Okay, so in order for you to understand about this, because SFU, DFU, and then you have players, these are all the players. Okay, let me just put this into players. And all of this is actually the objective is to mobilize the large amount of your money, the fund. Okay, how? Okay, let's take a look on my drawing here. Okay, I don't know how to draw, but it doesn't matter. Let's look. Okay, so let's see my stick man here. And we have another stick man here. Okay, in this case, we use individuals. Individuals, corporations, and government as the players in my drawing. So here, what's wrong with this? I don't know. Okay, so let's say this is Mr. A, and this is say the government. Okay, right. So, and this in the middle, I would say Islamic Bank. Okay, Mr. A, we will say someone who has surplus, SFU. And the government, I will say that the government needs money, then it falls under deficit, DFU. So how do you channel the fund? Right, this one is similar to your conventional finance, whereby Mr. A is a wealthy person. Okay, he has like 5 million. He's a millionaire. He has a 5 million extras in his cash in hand. So he said that I don't know where to put my cash in hand. Then okay, fine, I'll just deposit my cash into Islamic Bank. So he will go to Islamic Bank and invest or maybe deposit into Islamic Bank. He can choose so many products. He can choose so many instruments. One of the products, or maybe he wanted to put his fund is as, for example, invest. So Mr. A go to IB and then say, okay, can I put my 5 million into your investment fund, investment account? So, okay, investment account. Because why? Because Mr. A still wanted to generate some returns from the investment. Okay, so he puts 5 million inside here, 5 million, right? With expectation to get some return. No matter how, whatever return that the IB promises to Mr. A. Okay, so this is an extra part, SFU. And the government here is a government. Why government is a stickman? Okay, this is our prime minister, consider. Okay, and maybe a group of people lah. This is better. Okay, this is the government. So government says, okay, due to the pandemic, we need to improve the necessities of the community, okay, in terms of facilities. So in order, this is a big project to improve the facilities that we have in Sarawak, for example. Okay, because we need to help the children in Sarawak to go to the school, or maybe they need to get a laptop each of their family members. So the government said, where can we find this money? Where can we get this extra money? All right, so the government will go and search to the bank, any bank actually, but then in this case, the government will approach Islamic Bank and then check with Islamic Bank whether Islamic Bank can give borrowings. Okay, we don't use loan in Islamic term, but borrowings. Okay, government go to Islamic Bank and ask for borrowings, say about, okay, maybe 5 million. Okay, I just take the same amount, 5 million. Okay, and IB said, okay, fine, we can have these borrowings under tawaruk. Okay, tawaruk is the contract. Okay, I'm giving you an example. Okay, tawaruk. Borrowings using tawaruk, and then government say, okay, can Islamic Bank give tawaruk, meaning that I have to give some return, an extra plus a certain markup, because we don't apply interest. We call it as a markup or profit margin that we need to pay for the borrowings we pay to IB. All right, so government say, okay, no worries, can we will give you with with plus markup under tawaruk concept. Okay, so how IB can give back return to Mr. A is through the markup, okay, through the profit that IB have already made from the government, because government will pay installment, for example, monthly installment, or maybe yearly installment or quarterly installment, it depends. Right? Of course, when you pay installment, in conventional, it will be P plus I. Am I right? Principal plus interest. Well, in this case, principal plus a certain profit margin, for example, or maybe fee, or maybe plus profit margin. We call that in Islamic perspective. All right. So this is how, okay, the Islamic financial system channeling or mobilize the fund from Mr. A to IB and then IB to the government. Okay, you can see it's actually directly can be something like this. Okay, if you put, okay, Mr. A become the deficit, government is the surplus, same ways. Government said we have extra reserve here. Okay, we wanted to generate more return or more extra money from the money that we have at the moment, because we need to make sure that the economy is moving. Okay, it's running as usual. So government say, okay, we will park our money, give our money to IB. Okay, IB, we wanted to have a return as well. So what's the return that you can promise? Okay, anything, maybe they deposit using just now investment, right? Now maybe let's say using how is that? Still, okay, maybe deposits, normal deposits. Okay, normal deposits, savings. Okay, so IB say, okay, we will give you a return from the deposits that you park in our bank. And then Mr. A is a person who needs money for borrowings. Maybe Mr. A wanted to purchase a house, right? So DFU needs money, go to IB to get a home loan. Home loan under Tawarruk also can, under or maybe, yeah, normally it will be Tawarruk, okay, Tawarruk. So Mr. A go to IB to get a home loan 200,000, for example, and then IB say, okay, fine, under Tawarruk, of course you will be paying us like P plus a profit margin, okay, or a certain fee. Okay, and then Mr. A say, okay, right. So in a way also government also channeling the fund into individual. So in this way, you can see that this is actually a financial system that we are running in this box. Okay, many ways, okay, many directions, but basically it will be two directions, right? By either these people becoming the DFU and this is SFU, or this become DFU and this one is SFU. All right, so it can be in both ways. Same goes like us. Okay, you just take an example. If you have extra money, you will park your money in the Islamic bank in order for you to do some investment. Or maybe you can, okay, in ASB, for example, PNB, right? PNB is one of the intermediaries that you can keep your money inside there and wait for the dividend. True, right? So the money that you save in or deposit in PNB will be used by the government to channel to finance their facilities in Malaysia. Okay, that's actually how your fund that you have an extra money in the bank will be utilized. Okay, by giving to do some activities with other people. So when they pay return installments, so that's how you get your dividend towards the end of the year. So that is how the main objective is to mobilize large amounts of small savings, and pull them together in order to channel them for productive investment in the economy. So that is how it works in the Islamic financial system. Same goes to your conventional. This is financial system. Okay, except that the terminology that I use, for example, like Tawarruk, or maybe Sukuk, or maybe DFU, SFU. Okay, so this is the one, right? Because in conventional, we call as depositors and, borrowers and depositors. They don't have surplus fund units, deficit funds unit. No, they don't use this kind of terminologies. They use another terminologies. But whereby in Islamic, because we wanted to avoid the use of riba, the interest, So that's why we use SFU and DFU, right? Okay, so that is the function. So and this one, okay, as I explained through my drawings, you can see that, okay, how it works here. See, it need to be done through Sharia compliant manner. Tawarruk, for example. Okay, tawarruk arrangement or contract. For example, just now when I do my home loan, for example, okay, or any kind of borrowings. We have so many, okay. Even the issuance of sukuk also can be sukuk tawarruk, sukuk tawarruk, sukuk musyarakah, sukuk ijarah. Okay, so what is sukuk? Sukuk is considered as part of your securities like bond. Okay, they are the common one will be sukuk tawarruk. The what we call this, the technique or the approach that we use, the contract that we use to issue the bond or the sukuk. Okay, so same goes. Okay, the second one here, the financial institutions including Islamic bank. This is the same thing that I have already drawn in the middle. That is the intermediaries. Okay, whoever that involved. Sometimes, okay, sometimes it can be between institutions, IFI and IFI. They need money. For example, RHB, Maybank, and CIMB. Oh my God. Okay. They also channel money from one to another. Okay, maybe A and B and C needs money. Okay, so they will search among themselves. They are also mobilizing the fund. Okay, in our case just now, I just take 3 players. Here we have institution players between institution. Okay, so maybe this one takaful, or maybe this one bank, and this one government. Can same, doesn't make any difference. Okay, the process is there, right? So even you also have mutual funds like Kenanga Investment Fund, public mutual fund, public mutual under public bank, and then you have your brokers that handling some of these unit trusts. So mutual funds normally under unit trust. See, it's quite similar to your conventional and other Islamic finance companies. Okay, that can facilitate the flow between SFU and DFU. They are same, the one that I have draw here, even though this is not so nice, ugly, but yes, it's still a drawing. Okay, and okay, when they try to do this arrangement, for example, okay, this is where the bank, for example, Maybank have come up with, use the instrument. What sort of instrument? For example, a derivative. Okay, we take one derivative like options. Okay, options. We have options. Okay, options. Hang on, let me check. We have options. Do we have options? This is my own notes. Yes, okay. Okay, I don't want to use option. Perhaps options. Yes, options also can. Okay, options also exist in conventional. Okay, so this is considered an instrument in financial market. Okay, conventional also is called options. But what are the techniques? Conventional, straight away using conventional, there's no techniques that applies Islamic compliant. But for Islamic financial system, the techniques that you can use for options can be under a certain techniques. Perhaps we can use like what are techniques? Urban techniques, for example. Okay, urban techniques. It is pronounced as urban. Okay, and then what sort of products? Okay, maybe these options. Maybank call it as iUrban. For example, iUrban options. Name can be anything. Islamic urban options, or maybe I options, or maybe Al-Ikhlas options, something like that. Okay, name can be anything that to represent the Islamic instrument. Okay, but these are the techniques which is based on our Sharia contract, and this is your instrument. So this is how you differentiate between the three. So options both for Islamic and conventional, we have options. Techniques different. Conventional techniques using what, and then Islamic using urban, for example, and the name can be different as well. So what is important here, it has to comply with Sharia. So that's how the function of Islamic financial system governs the mobilizations of the fund, okay, between the players, individual, household, institutions, and your government. All right, what are the types of financial markets? So when we talk about types, okay, this also similar to your conventional. We have debt and equity market. These are your securities. Okay, for example, you have debt like sukuk or bond. Okay, and then equity, you have shares. Right. I'm sure that you are familiar with shares, right? And then bonds like sukuk. Okay. And then money market and capital market. So this is also similar to your conventional. Islamic also have money market and capital market. Just need to know that money market is for short term, capital market is for long term and short term as well. Sometimes you can use both, right? For short term money market, you can place as short as 1 night, which is overnight. For example, you have 5 million, okay? You wanted to earn some return from your 5 million over the night. You can place in the bank, okay? This is where you need to bargain on the percentage of the margin, okay, or the profit that you wanted to have. If let's say in conventional, of course, you place in a bank, and overnight for 5 million, they will offer you like 3.5% interest. Okay, so just calculate 3.5% out of 5 million, how much you will get. Definitely you will get a huge number as well. Okay, maybe some of the amounts here can finance part of your expenses. That is the purpose of your money market. But normally for money market, you have large amount of money to place in. Okay, if let's say you don't have large amount, perhaps you have about 1 million. Okay, no, less than 1 million, like maybe 500,000. Maybe you can park under money market, but maybe 7 days or 14 days. It depends, because the more days that you keep inside there, the more return that you will get with your 500,000. Unlike 5 million, so 5 million times 3.5, you will get more, right? Whereby capital market, when we talk about capital market, it's more on the medium term and long term. Okay, medium term, something like 6 months and above, right? And maybe a year, 12 months and above. Mostly they will say like 12 months and above. Money market maximum is 12 months. Okay, so Islamic money market serve 3 main functions. So when we talk about money market here, why is it important? It's because it provides liquidity. As I mentioned, you can keep your money and get return as an overnight. This is the fastest one. 1 night, you place tonight, you withdraw tomorrow, and then you will get 3.5% from your 5 million. Yes, you will get from there. Okay, and then money market also important in Islamic financial markets, okay, because it can also be an avenue, a place for secondary trading of money market instrument. Yes, money market instrument can be traded. You can sell your contract to another individual or another institutions or company. Okay, secondary. Always remember, yeah, this is quite similar to your conventional. Your primary and secondary market. Okay, here. You need to know how to differentiate. Primary, normally you do issuance of shares. Issuance of shares or securities. The new one. Okay. You don't trade. You don't trade, buy and sell in primary. Whereby secondary, yes, you buy and sell. your instruments or your contract if you don't want to have it. Okay, for example, like options you can sell in secondary market. Okay, and then futures also you can sell in secondary market. Okay, normally it will be a derivative, right? So that's how you differentiate between primary and secondary market, right? This is where you can sell. This one is only issuance of shares and securities. First time like bonds, sukuk, are all at primary market. Secondary is more on products that you can sell. Sorry, you can buy and sell among shareholders. Okay, among holders. For example, like I hold options contract, I can sell to someone else. If let's say I offer in the market, right? And if let's say they're interested to buy, they will buy it. All right. And then another thing that you need to know here when it comes to organized exchange and over-the-counter market. This is also part of the Islamic financial markets. Okay, what does it mean by organized exchange and over-the-counter? Okay, organized exchange is tailor-made. Tailor-made. Or I can say custom-made. Specially designed for you, custom-made. Over-the-counter is ready-made. Ready to wear or ready to use, ready-made. Okay, what's the difference here? Of course, when you look at the explanation also, it's different. Just take an example. If let's say you wanted to sell, you are the producer of rice. Okay, you wanted to sell your rice to one of the company in Singapore. So Singapore have entered into an agreement with your company under, for example, let's say futures. Okay, futures. So you said, okay, fine. When we choose futures as our instrument, I wanted to have futures that can be custom made. Why? Then you will, the decision made based on your needs. Okay, why you choose custom made is because you know that your business is like this, or maybe it's a medium size, and then the amount that you send to Singapore company is this much. So you design your your contract, your futures contract based on your needs and wants, and as well as the other party also will agree. Okay, whereby if you don't care, oh, it's okay, I can just use whatever that I have in the market. I can just go to the counter. Counter means over-the-counter markets means I can just approach any of Islamic financial institutions, okay, or maybe any of the bankings, and ask them, can I get a futures contract, for example? And then they say, okay, yes, we do. Okay, you wanted over the counter, right? Yes, okay, over the counter. So this is our over the counter futures based on CPO, for example, okay, crude palm oil. And this is the contract figure, this is the contract amount. Okay, how many is your figures for your rice that you export to Singapore? So everything is based on the ready-made contract. You just follow. If let's say one contract equivalent to 50 ton, then it will be 50 ton one contract. So if let's say you are exporting like 200 ton, so you need to have 4 contracts, for example. So it's all over the counter market, whereby it's already ready-made. If let's say tailor-made or custom-made, you design on yourself. Okay, you want to be like how many? Less than 50 ton. Maybe you want a 10 ton, 10 ton, 30. Different contract, or how is the arrangement is up to you. So that is organized exchange. And normally organized exchange, you can just approach to the intermediaries, any kind of institutions. Okay, they will do it for you. Not to worry about that. But not all I can say the majority will do it for you. Okay, but they have to look at their capability as well. Like Maybank, yes. Okay, like OCBC International, yes, I think yes. Okay, so they have this organized exchange that they can tailor-made for you. All right, and okay, when I draw the 3 parties there, okay, when I draw my stickman, the banks here, Okay, why do we need these intermediaries? It's very important. Okay, intermediaries, because why? Because intermediaries will try to match, okay, try to match your preference, okay, either you are at SFU, your preference, and DFU, the deficit parties. And having these intermediaries also, they try to match, okay, if let's say you wanted to have something like XXX, and here I'm offering XXXXXX, the intermediaries will work hard to look at how can I match this party and this party. So they will try to match and become something which is, you know, it need each other. Okay, this is only 2 players. We have more. Okay, sometimes not only Mr. A, we can have someone else, okay, that come to the bank. Maybe it will match with this person. Okay, so that's why intermediary is also another platform, is good for both SFUs and DFU. And the second one, the reason for having financial intermediaries is because, okay, intermediaries will help you to reduce cost. What sort of cost? Information cost. When you search for information, like what? Searching cost, you will incur. Screening cost, you will incur. Monitoring cost, you will incur. Enforcement cost, you will incur. Right, information cost like searching cost. Okay, let me search cost, meaning that, okay, for example, you search for potential investors or maybe potential partners. Let me, okay, searching costs. Okay, an example that I can share with you. You search for potential transaction, potential, here called potential lenders or maybe transactors. Always remember in financial market, there will be buyer and seller, okay, depositors and borrowers. Okay, it has to match. So you don't have, you as a person, okay, or maybe you own a company, you are what do you call this, a sole proprietor. You don't have time to go and search for are you a person who willing to lend me, or maybe I can just approach anyone. No. Okay, so that's why you need intermediaries. It will reduce the searching cost, because when you search someone, you will incur costs, so many fuel costs lah, and then rental costs, everything. And in fact, screening costs. Okay, what does it mean by screening costs? Meaning that you will evaluate proposal. Someone approach you to borrow money, or maybe to do a partnership. Okay, to do partnership, and you said that, okay, give me your proposal, and then you do all the screening. You need to study, and sometimes you don't understand what is the meaning of a certain terms that used in the proposal. So this is also another cost that you will incur. Monitoring cost. Okay, monitoring cost is something like to monitor, to supervise, to take care or look after, right? So this one is more a cost that to reduce moral hazard. Cost relate to reduce moral hazard, meaning that, okay, for example, you wanted to protect parties between A and B. Who is going to protect? Who is going to pay for the cost? Definitely you will be you, right? Because the other party, I don't care. As long as I got your money, and then I can just run away. All right. So how are you going to monitor that? Then you have to incur some cost. I mean, like, it's better not to incur your own cost. Maybe you should go for intermediaries. So that's why, for example, we have PIDM to protect. Okay, PIDM, for example, and then Takaful. Okay, these are all intermediaries have been taken. I mean, like a contract to cover or to reduce your cost. And then, of course, enforcement cost. Enforcement cost is if, let's say, there is a default in payment. For example, just now when I said that, okay, what happens if one party breach the contract and run away? Who is going to chase the person? Who is going to chase for the default payment? Who is going to bring the case to the court in order to get the decisions? Who? It's better to go through intermediaries because they know what to do, right? And of course, using intermediaries, you are transferring your risk. That is very important. Okay, the types of intermediaries that we have just now, when I mentioned so many, PIDM, Takaful, and then EPF, ASB, what are those? Those are intermediaries, but there are two types of intermediaries that you need to understand. Okay, the middle person here. One is called depository institution, whereby you deposit to them directly. Okay, you get borrowings from them directly. Another one is non-depository institutions. You don't go there directly, meaning here the source of funds come from other sources. Okay, I give you an example based on the book that I have here. Okay. Are you still with me, class? Just afraid that you lost me, not I lost you.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry for the noise that I have here. I don't understand. Out of sudden they have this noise around me. Okay, depository institutions can be commercial banks, okay, and then savings and loans associations, mutual saving banks, and then credit unions, persatuan. Okay, credit unions, persatuan, you know, like giving you credit, I mean like borrowings. Okay, savings and loans association, for example, like teachers association, they also have savings and loans for teachers who needs money, okay, for loans, or maybe they wanted to keep their money for that and get some returns. We have that, okay, all over in the world. We have associations, we have unions, okay, so these are considered as part of the depository. In fact, for example, a union here in Malaysia, we have Lembaga Tabung Amanah Angkatan Tentera, for example, LTAT, okay, that is part also a credit union that we have in Malaysia. Non-depository institution, this refers to, okay, for example, Takaful and insurance company, whereby, why? Because you pay in the form of premium. Because you pay premium to Takaful. Corporation, still remember just now? All right, and then you have pension fund. Pension funds that you keep in EPF, for example, in Malaysia. May I know in Indonesia, do you have pension fund organization? Who with me? Rizalullah. Is Rizalullah in this group? Hernawati? Anyone?
Yes, madam.
Yes. Do you have pension fund in Indonesia? Anyone that you know? Any organization that you know?
Yes, we have like Prudential or anything else.
Oh, okay. Prudential
And I am not sure. I don't know
okay.
a lot of it here,
Okay.
but we have.
Okay. Right. So in Malaysia, we call that EPF. Okay. Employee what? EPF? Oh, see, I cannot remember.
Provision Fund.
Yeah. Employees Provision Fund. Okay, provision fund where we keep our money inside there through contributions. And then we also have what else? Finance companies. This is where they get the source of funds from securities that they issue, finance companies. Okay, this where the source of fund is from securities. And we also have mutual funds, unit trusts. Okay, for example, mutual funds. And then the last one is investment bank. Why the line came up? Okay, investment bank. So basically, investment bank will get a source from another bank. Okay, so that is the meaning of non-depository institutions, whereby the fund come from other sources. Okay, and credit union, I think Perkeso is under Perkeso. Oh, sorry, Perkeso is part of non-depository institutions. Okay, Perkeso in Malaysia. All right, so this is the types of your financial intermediaries. They have deposits and non-deposits. All right, so when we talk about the product of our Islamic financial instruments, but before that, do you have any questions, class?
No, doctor.
Okay. Yeah, first day, first class, no question, don't worry. Okay. Two approaches to develop modern. Okay, how do they develop Islamic financial instrument? There are two ways. What are the ways? The first one, adaptive approach. Adaptive approach means that they take the conventional product, the one that they have at the moment. Okay, for example, the savings product. Okay, for example, CIMB. CIMB has this saving product because previously CIMB is not does not have any Sharia compliant product. So what happened is that they take this saving product, they modify based on Islamic contract under Wadi'ah. Okay, under Wadi'ah. So what happened is that they modified the saving product and become using Wadi'ah contract, and they just name it as Al-Wadi'ah saving account. For example, see the three things they just modify and try to make sure that it is Sharia compliant and it becomes Islamic product. In other words, adaptive approach is more on Sharia compliant. You comply with the Sharia laws, Sharia legal or Sharia regulations, whereby another product or another financial instruments that bank or financial institutions will do, they create from scratch. That is called innovative approach. They don't have the product yet. Even in conventional also they don't have. So what they do, they create raw from scratch. They develop slowly. All right. One of example is what? Suku is something that they innovate. Okay, they don't modify from them. Okay, but Suku, of course, it has a certain contract underlying on the approach. Okay, this is something like, for example, bank, they wanted to come up with home loan, and this home loan is different from the conventional. It has nothing to do with the conventional. So they develop everything based on Sharia contracts, and they innovate something new. See, a new innovation that they design for this product, and this normally known as Sharia based product. See, two different things. This is compliant, you comply. This is base. You create, you innovate from raw, or I can say from scratch. That is your Sharia based product. So these are the two. Perhaps, okay, after this class, you can try to search what are the Sharia compliant products and Sharia based product in the market that you have. Any IFIs or any banking that you can take a look. Okay, for example, like CIMB, Maybank, they have so many Sharia compliant product. Even the foreign bank like OCBC, HSBC also, like for OCBC, they have Sharia compliant product under their OCBC Amanah. Okay, HSBC Amanah also has. and so many things. Okay, you can just try to Google and take a look what sort of products that they have. Right, so requisite. Requisite is something like to do with the requirements, something that we have a must in our Islamic financial system. There are 5 requisites. Okay, the first one will be your risk management. Of course, you need to have, you means what? You means organization, institutions. Okay, in our case, Islamic financial system, the IFI, the Islamic financial institutions, the bank, the government, must have strong risk management. Why strong risk management? Okay, the first one, look at this risk word. Okay, when I did mention about the 3 fundamental principles that we have. I don't know whether I had mentioned or not. Okay, the 3 principles that we have also need to avoid under halal and haram. That is your riba, okay, your gharar, and your maizir. I'm sure that some of you are familiar with this word. All right, riba is interest, prohibition of interest, prohibitions of uncertainty, and prohibitions of anything to do with gambling, alcohol, pork, or any prohibited activities under Sharia. Okay. So any maizir is something to do with gambling. Okay, it's gambling, it's more on gambling. And then we have another one is activities that related to prohibition of, you know, activities such as selling porks, liquors, and pornography, whatsoever. So many things. All right, so the main thing here, out of from 4 or 3 here, risk is normally will lead to gharar, which is uncertainty. Okay, this is actually a prohibition, meaning that you must have a strong management that can reduce the uncertainty, okay, the risk that can impose to your SFU and DFU. Still remember the players? We try to reduce the risk on the SFUs and DFUs. So that's why a strong risk management is very important. And at the same time, it's not only because of the gharar, okay, that can lead to uncertainty. Risk also here is related to your corporate governance. Okay, a strong corporate governance means that you have a strong regulations, you have a strong background of people in the management to monitor, to steward, to lead your company so that everything will be in accordance. Okay, strong risk management also relates to your corporate governance, and that's why it is important in Islamic financial system. The second one, effective regulation. Effective regulation. In Islamic financial system, we must regulate. If we don't regulate, everything will be haywire. Am I right? Because why? Because without regulation, people can just simply modify their product and they don't know that is actually part of the riba product. And they don't know that the product that they produce can be relates to gharar. And they don't know that some of the products that they modify can be part of, or maybe investment can be part of their maizir, that is gambling. So effective regulation means that we must have a good supervisory or Sharia advisory committee in our company. So here it refers to Sharia advisory board. In Malaysia, it is not necessary for a company to have a Sharia advisory board. Okay, so what happens is that when they don't have Sharia advisory board, you can your company can refer to Securities Commission or Bank Negara or Central Bank. Okay, Central Bank or Bank Negara. So because Securities Commission and Bank Negara, they have their own, they have a set of Sharia advisory board that can evaluate your product, whether when you modify your product, is it follow this Sharia compliant? If let's say yes, they will approve your product. If let's say it's no, then they will return and then they will advise you to do again, or maybe to modify again in terms of the contract, right? So that is effective regulation. You must have a security commissions, the Sharia advisory board in order to regulate the modifications of the product, the productions of the product. If let's say you innovate, make sure that it is innovate in a good way, right? And then sound corporate and Sharia governance. Yes, this is also again relate to your corporate governance. You must have a good, effective corporate governance, a good board with a good background. You have a good numbers of independent executive that can, can bring in what you call these ideas and knowledge and skills in order to ensure that the economy or the business transactions that you carry within your organization is compliance to the conventional as well as the Sharia governance. So when we talk about Sharia governance, we emphasize on Sharia advisory board. This is very important. Okay, you do not cross the board. And there are so many things actually under Sharia governance. You will look at the parameters, okay, the halal and haram parameters, as well as the screening methodology. Okay, this one we will touch later, not now. Okay, screening methodology meaning that whether your product meet a certain percentage, it's below the percentage of prohibitions product, 5%, 20 or 25%. Those are the things, right? Okay, supportive legal framework, yes. If you look at this, they are all interrelated. All right. Legal framework. Who provides the legal framework? The Securities Commission provides. Okay. Our Islamic capital market in Malaysia is governed, is regulated by Securities Commission. No one else. All right. So that's why the Securities Commission in Malaysia is very important in order to support our Islamic capital market. Without Securities Commission, we will collapse. Without Securities Commission, banks, financial institutions, they can just produce product just like the conventional. They don't care as long as they make profit. So who actually control the activity? The Securities Commission, together with the Bank Negara. Okay, together with Bank Negara. But the main one is your Securities Commission. And then the last one is robust accounting disclosure and taxation regime. So when we talk about accounting disclosure, always remember again, in Islam, we encourage what? Transparency. We encourage transparency, we encourage accountability. In Islam, we encourage integrity and everything. Okay, so in order for you to make sure, in Islamic financial system, whatever transactions happen, okay, in the business or economy, you have to make sure that you disclose all the information. In fact, disclosure and transparency has been mentioned so many times in the Quran. How important is the disclosure is. So it has to share with all people that you are dealing with. So disclosure is very important. Okay, it has been mentioned so many times in the Quran how important is disclosure in our Islamic financial system or Islamic business transactions and economy. Okay, when we talk about taxation, this is another thing that we have issues basically. Okay, taxation is where sometimes Islamic product, okay, the instrument suffered from dual tax. Okay, dual tax meaning here how? The first one, the product, okay, for example, like Maybank issues a product. Maybank earn return from there. So when they earn returns, they have to pay tax from conventional perspective. The second one, when they earn return, okay, or maybe income from there, since that is Islamic product, they also have to pay zakat. See, so another taxation regime also need to be there. So meaning that there must be a proper guideline. What sort of instrument that is subject to zakat? What sort of instrument or contract that is subject to tax? Or maybe some subject to dual tax. In fact, when you do our business transaction is all over, cross over the broad, right? Because meaning that, for example, like import and export. So a taxation, okay, taxation element will be imposed in our product. So that's why some companies, large companies, they don't prefer to have Islamic financial system because they feel that, sorry, Islamic product to do the instrument, okay, export and import, because they thought that they have to pay tax plus zakat. Okay, so it will be a double tax, right? And however, okay, not to worry, because our Securities Commission has already clarified what sort of or what type of instruments that will be subject to zakat, okay, and what type of instruments that will subject to taxation regime. So this is something which is very important in Islamic financial system, whereby the system should be able to differentiate between the zakat and the taxation. Okay, of course, any instruments that we use in the country, in one country, no matter where we are, normally there will be a tax element. So this is something, a burden, and this is still a current issues in the whole world, not only in Malaysia but in all countries. Because why? Tax is the source of finance, sorry, source of money or fund for a government, right? Source of income. So if let's say the government did not impose tax, how can the government get their own or generate their own income? Because government doesn't involve with so much of business within its country. So that's why they impose tax in all our business transactions. All right. So that's all for today. Any question, class? You have finished early, but since you still have, like friends keep coming in and cannot access. Any question? Don't fall asleep.
So far, no.
So far, okay. Am I too quick? Yes. Hannah? Am I too quick, Hannah? Okay, sorry, Asa here. All right. Any question? Okay, no. All right.
No, madam.
Okay, so normally first, like for the introduction, there will be no questions. Okay, this is what I want you to do. You need to form a team. Okay, one group comprises of 5 at least. Okay, get your team names and student ID, and give your group names as well with the team names, team's details to your class rep. Who's your class rep? Amir. Amir kan? Is Amir here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, so Amir will compile, right? And then Amir will give it to me, because I will take this group name and I will assign you with the assignment. Okay, right. So for those who from Uniska, like Hernawati, and then who else? Triyuda, right? I don't want you to form your own group. No, each of you should join one local group. Okay, so meaning that, for example, Hernawati join Azra Azima's group, Triyuda joins Aisha's group, for example. Okay, you may choose, right? Okay. This is where you can exchange your knowledge and interact with our local students, okay? And hoping that our local students also will help you, because this book, okay, if let's say they purchase it, they will help you to share the contents. This is actually internationally used. I forgot. Okay, all countries use this one, because the authors that we have here is from Indonesia, Middle East, and from Kuwait, and of course the majority is from from Malaysia. Okay, so this is not only used by us, this is also used by other countries, whereby the principles and operations are the same. So no worries. Okay, as a reference. And what else? Okay, for our international students. Okay, there will be something that I would like you to do, whereby perhaps you can discuss among the four of you. Okay, I think Rizalullah and Gabriel also in this group, right? Okay. Can you share with us about your Islamic financial system in Indonesia? Okay, we wanted to know if, let's say, in Malaysia we have Securities Commission, but in Indonesia, who are the who governs or who regulate the Islamic capital market in Indonesia? What is the role of your Indonesia bank? Okay, for example, the central bank when it comes to Islamic financial system, IFS. And then we wanted to know what else? It's basically a brief information that you can share with us. Do you have banks that do modified product, or they are more on Sharia based product? Okay, if let's say they are 100% Sharia based, then let us know the examples of the bank. Okay, because I know that you have so many banks in Indonesia, right? And in fact, you also have CIMB, which is the foreign bank, and Maybank as well, right? Okay, so we need this information. Perhaps you can share with us in our next meeting. Is that okay? Right? Okay, and the rest of you, besides that, I will just post, share these tutorial questions for you to do, okay? Once you have set up your own group, I will just call any names, okay? Maybe I just call Rose Afika, for example. So Afika will represent the group to give the answer. Okay, that one will be on Monday. Monday is tutorial, right? Okay, Monday tutorial. But don't worry, your Islamic finance session will be a relaxed session. I don't push you, okay? It's because not necessary, yeah. Tutorial we have we will have our virtual session like this. No, we will only have virtual during lecture. That is very important. Lecture, yes, we will have virtual. For tutorial, sometimes can be virtual. Sometimes you can just submit your tutorial based on our Telegram or Teams platform. It doesn't matter. Okay, as long that you do your work in group, you discuss, and then you can just submit, and that's all. And I will look at the answers. If let's say I just don't satisfy with the answers, meaning that there is something wrong, meaning that this is not a group work, this is individual work. Okay, we can detect from there. All right, so I think that's all for today. And Amir, so far, how many people that wanted to purchase the book?
Currently, there is seven
Okay.
students.
Okay, all right. Because I encourage students to purchase the book because why? You cannot rely on the slide. Seriously, this book is a very thick book. So meaning that whatever that I share with you is just a surface. No explanation at all. Okay, you need to read, then you can search for the answer here. Okay, all right. And what else? I think that's all for today. Yes, you have more actually if you look at the book, but the one that you have in the slide only 14 slides. It's not enough, right? Okay, so whatever it is, it will be until Monday ke Tuesday ya, Amir. I give you I nak nama tu?
Until Tuesday.
Until Tuesday. All right. So Tuesday will be the last day, and by Wednesday, Amir will, or maybe end of by Wednesday, Amir will send to me the list. Okay, so that I will pass the list to the person, and then collection as well, kan Amir?
Yes,
You have done
yes.
the collection. Yes, yes. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I think that's all for today, and I'll see you inshallah next week. Right? Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum. Any question, Alia? Do you have question, Alia?
No.
No. All right. Okay. Try the next time also try to log in through YouFuture. Yeah. If you can't, please make sure that you inform me earlier. Do not inform me later after 2:30. No, no, no. All right. Try to log in earlier. All right. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.